Welcome everybody to Bedbug TV. I'm your host, Jeff White. And in today's episode, I want to talk a little bit about the past with bedbugs, which is the last, say, 2 to 3 years, some of the trends we're seeing, and then what the future of bedbugs may be, say in the next year or two. We're not going to go beyond that right now, but in the next year or two, what we think might happen with bedbug populations and where they're going to go. And with me today, I actually have my first guest on the show, Ms. Ali Tazy, who is another expert on bedbugs, who's been doing a lot of work recently with different papers on bedbugs and populations and working in a lot of affordable housing communities all over the country. And so I'm going to provide a little bit of insight from myself and then turn it over to Ali to provide some of the things that she's been seeing across the country. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Hi. Okay, so basically what stimulated this episode of Bedbug TV was an article that was recently run online that talked about the bedbug problem abating in New York City. Abating is a very strong adjective that I wouldn't have used, but it basically was based on a story or a report that was released by HPD in New York City that talked about the number of bedbug calls coming into their housing office reducing for the first time. They saw, I think it was like a 6 to 8% reduction in calls about bedbugs or reports about bedbugs to HPD. And the story came out that said, the problem in New York City is abating. And as I said, that is a word I would completely stay away. Anybody who thinks that bedbugs are abating or going to start to go away is taking themselves down the wrong path. Bedbugs are not going away. Now, what caused that trend? There's probably a couple different factors. Was it the seasonal temperatures last summer versus the summer before? 2010 was one of the worst years on record. Did the temperature outside have something to do with it? Because it was also the hottest summer on record. It may have. Last summer was much cooler. Bedbug education, if it's me on TV somewhere talking about bedbugs or Ali on TV talking about bedbugs, people are becoming more educated and, handling these problems much more upfront and possibly not reporting them based on what I know Ali's going to talk about in a second. Or, what else is going on? What might have caused those trends? And we're not 100% sure. But as I said, a lot of experts are starting to say, and have been seeing for the last couple of years, that bedbugs are starting to reservoir in a lot of our lower socioeconomic class, affordable housing. And it's not to create a stigma. That's not why I'm here. It's not why Ali's here. It's the last thing I want to do. It has nothing to do with filth or anything like that. We know bedbugs have no association. But when bedbug treatments cost anywhere from $600 to $800 to $1,000, how is somebody living in affordable housing who may be struggling to feed their family pay $1,000 for a bedbug treatment? And then what happens when the family next door has a huge problem and doesn't care that the bedbugs are there and doesn't do anything about it? And then the person who cares, who spent $1,000, gets them the next day because they just walked back in the front door. And so it's a very complicated topic. And as I said, we're starting to see bugs reservoir there. And that's what we've been seeing here in the New York, New Jersey area, and that's where our offices are. And so, Ali, when you travel around the country and work in these different affordable housing communities, what are you seeing these different properties doing to deal with bedbugs as a whole?
Mm-hmm. I think the affordable housing industry has taken the problem on really well in that they've gotten educated, gone online, and a few resources have really risen to the top of search engines. Bedbug TV is one of them, university-based resources. The housing authorities and other affordable housing providers are reading these resources, getting themselves educated on the tools that are out there that they don't need a pesticide applicator's license for, and taking some of these parts of a treatment procedure in-house. They're also going to their pest control companies and saying, we've been spending these dollars on bedbug control. We need these dollars for other pests too, because affordable housing has always had high pest pressures with lack of education of residents, a lot of transfer between units. So there's just a limited budget and the job's got to get done. They have to manage all the pests. So they're starting to take some of the components of a bedbug treatment in-house.
And we've seen a lot of that here as well, where, people are getting educated on how to, say, use a steamer properly. I think there's always going to be bedbug business, shall we say, out there. There's always going to be a family who gets bedbugs from a hotel or something, brings them back to their house, and needs to take care of that problem and hires a pest control company. That being said, these communities that have literally, and in no way are we exaggerating, if not tens, hundreds of bedbug infestations across an entire, say, housing authority, whatever the case may be, there's no way they can spend $1,000 for each unit. And so they're being trained by people like ourselves or other experts at pest control companies on how to use a steamer properly. How to optimize the use of different interception devices, and basically how to start handling some of these problems, or at least managing these problems. And I think that's the key word here, is managing these problems on their own. And so are you seeing some of those same types of things in terms of like the expert to becoming consultants and helping out with some of the more severe infestations when needed?
Yeah, it's admirable the way housing authorities and other affordable housing providers are getting themselves educated and going to the pest control companies and saying, we know we need to work with you, you are the expert, but what can you teach us? And they also realize the importance, something we've been stressing for years, resident education and just educating the whole public. And they're taking some of that in-house. So when residents move in, they get information that's taught by the staff that's well educated. So it's really admirable the way they've taken it on. And although the treatment, the way it's done may shift, all the different components of a program are still going to be there. It's just who does the different steps.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, I think the bottom line here is that we wanted to make sure everybody understands that this problem is not going away. But we are getting better at this. Every year we're getting better at this, and the control methods are getting, you know, better, and everybody's becoming more educated. And you will start to see the spread slow, I think, and, you know, different communities will be able to get rid of this. But bedbugs aren't going away anytime soon. I mean, you're not going to see what we saw at the end of the 1950s when bedbugs were virtually eliminated from the United States. I don't see that coming anytime soon. I don't think you do either.
No, I've seen a lot more of properties doing building-wide monitoring so that they know. They're not waiting for the call to come in. They're not waiting, again, HPD, the calls are going down. People aren't calling as much. They are going out and actively monitoring their whole building and finding the infestations while they're still at a low level and managing them there.
Yep, and that's it. You know, I think that's definitely what we're seeing, and bedbugs are back. They're here to stay, but we'll get better and manage these problems, and hopefully we can slow the spread. Thank you.
Thank you.
So if anybody has any questions on the future of bedbugs and you know what we talked about today with, you know, affordable housing and some of the trends that we're seeing out there, you know, you can always email me, jeff.white@bedbugcentral.com. You can find Allie's email address online. You can always email Allie. And I want to thank everybody for viewing, and I hope to see everybody soon enough.